If you want to get started with basic web dev but don't know where to begin, this video and series of videos we are going to be getting you stuck in. So this video series is not going to be super extensive, it's going to be covering some basics, but this will be enough to get you started. In addition, there'll also be a little bit of setup involved, which we will go through to help make your code a little prettier. Forgive the pun, which you will soon discover. Now, come into your Visual Studio Code. If you don't have it, you can navigate to the website via Google and download it there for either Windows or Mac. Now, the first thing I want you to do is create a new file. So, there are two ways to do this. File in the top left corner and click a new file. In here, you'll be able to type the file name. It will be called index.html, for we will be writing in HTML. The alternative way, my preference, would be to move over to the activity bar here and click this tab. This tab will open up your file structure. We don't have any files yet, that's why you can't see anything. And click on this icon here, new file. Index.html. Now, if this activity bar is not visible to you, move over to view. Move down to appearance, to activity bar, and click it. I obviously had it on, so it's gone. And there it is again. So now we have our first file, and we are going to build our very first website. Hello world. So what we have here is what's called an HTML element. It is made up of a HTML tag and some content. So this is a H1 tag. H stands for heading. We'll go more into this at a later date. Each tag consists of an opening tag, H1 inside a less than and greater than symbol, and then H1 inside for the closing tag, H1 inside a less than and greater than symbol with the addition of this /. This marks it as a closing tag. All HTML elements, bar a few, require an opening and a closing tag. So, without further ado, we'll view our website. I'd like you to navigate to the folder that you have saved the index.html file in, and simply click on it as you would any other file. And let's see what happens. If everything has gone swimmingly, you should see in the top left hand corner the words hello world. Now, this is in effect a website, and if it's the first time you've made one, well done. We could theoretically put this on the internet for all to see. You could create a domain name and show it off. It's not going to be doing very much, but theoretically this is as much as you need for a website. So we're going to go back to our code now, and we're going to make this a little bit more complex, but not too much so. But first, we're going to do some of the formatting and setup that I told you about. So what I'd like to do is delete this H1 tag, and then we're going to type a little bit more HTML so that we can see what happens when we format things. Now, I'd like you to type this. As you can see on my screen, the autocomplete is asking me if I want to press tab and add this in, but I'm going to type it out. Doc type HTML in lowercase. This is so our browsers will be able to see what type of document that we are sending to it when it gets there. Now, make another tag, HTML, and the closing. Press enter. Then make a tag titled head. Inside the head tag, title, and in the space between the tags, type my first website. Underneath head, suggesting that I do some things, but I'm just going to continue. And I'm going to close the body, open it up. I'm going to put a H1, and then I'm going to put in hello world again. And that's all I'm going to do. So now I would like you to notice the layout, what's called indentation. In between each tag, I have the head here, for example, and the closing head tag there, and in between I have the title tag. So in typing this out, this is automatically formatted in this particular way. But what if it wasn't? Let's move this across here and save it. Now, you may not have much experience with coding, but I can tell you from experience that badly laid out code is much more difficult to work with, and it causes problems a lot later when you start to put on things in the internet called deployment. So we're going to, first of all, mess up this code a little bit, just so we can see what happens. And then I'd like you to move over to the activity bar, open it if it is not open already, and click on this icon here, extensions. First of all, I'd like you to search for ESLint. So what this does, if you wish to read it, is make sure that certain rules are followed within your code. We won't go too much in depth now as to what that is, but trust me, it's useful. Install. Then I want to search for another extension, Prettier. I'm going to install. Prettier will help format our code. It'll move things around and generally make things look pretty in a code-like way. But we're going to have to initialize these, set them up to make sure our VS Code settings allows these things to happen. So I'd like to move over to File or Code on a Mac. Scroll down to Preferences and Settings. Then search for Default Formatter. This drop down menu here, we're going to look for Prettier and set Prettier as our default formatter. Simply click and that's done. Next, search for On Format, and you should have two options at the top: Editor Format on Paste, which I'd like you to select, and then Editor Format on Save, which I'd also like you to select. What this will do, it will run Prettier and format our code every time we paste and every time we save. There's quite a lot of pasting that can be done, and pasting often messes up the format of code, and if you don't have a formatter, it's difficult to either move things around or read somebody else's code, or your own even, that isn't formatted. The same goes for saving. So now, I'm going to close these down. As you can see, our code is a bit of a mess and we don't really know what's going on with it. I'm going to save this. Ta-da! The code is formatted. I don't have to worry about the way my code is laid out. I can just hit save and that's done. So now we're going to take a look at our website. if you go back to your browser to see your website that is being shown, you should, if you haven't done anything else, still see hello world in the corner. But we wrote hello world again. In order to reload this web page, because it's not going to automatically upload changes, we're going to have to refresh. So either hit Control and R or click the reload refresh page button rather. And there we go. We get hello world again, exclamation mark, as we had in our code. So if this is your first introduction to any kind of code and web development, congratulations, well done. We will be moving on to things that are a little more complicated than this. We're going to do some HTML. We're going to add some CSS for styling, make an interesting layout, and then add some JavaScript to make things dynamic. What that means is stuff that does things on the page. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.